Morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We are learning Mishnah's Chagiga, Paragimel, Chapter 3, Mishna Zai, Mishnah 7. Okay. Hapaisech es chavisai, v'amaschel b'isasai agav haregal. We're talking about a person who's a chaver, means a person who is careful regarding the laws of Tum and Tahara, and he is selling wine and dough, and he's doing it on Yontif. One who opens his barrel, or begins a dough during Yontif. So here's the issue. He is selling these things. Now, we learned in previous Mishnah that on Yontif and Am Haaretz is considered like a chaber. We can trust him regarding purity and impurity during Yontif because everybody makes themselves pure for Yontif. And therefore, the whole decree of what he touches becoming tamei doesn't apply during Yontif. During Yontif, he can tell us whether something is pure or impure. Fine. So now, this chaver, he now opened up his barrel. He's got a little shop. People come into the shop. The people that come to the shop are the different types of people. You've got chaverim who come into the shop. You've got amaratzim who come into the shop. Now, when the amaratzim come into the shop, they touch. They touch the barrel. They may even touch the wine. They touch the dough. They touch things. Well, if an amaretz touches things, we say typically that it becomes impure. But since it's yontif, we say the decree doesn't apply and it doesn't become impure. But what happens with the leftovers? What happens after yontif? You have leftover wine from after yontif. What status does the leftover wine have? Rabbi Yehuda Oimer Yigmar. Rabbi Yehuda says you started it on Yontif, and it was considered pure then. So it says Rabbi Yehuda after Yontif, you finish. It's considered pure. It continues staying pure. If a chaver wants to buy it after Yontif, he's allowed to buy it. We consider it pure. So the point, Rabbi Yehuda, is even though that the time period of the exception to the rule is over, essentially, but that which was already started within the time of Yontif, when the decree about the Amaratzim doesn't apply, and it was this dough that was started, or this barrel of wine that was started during Yontif, we consider it pure. This barrel, this dough is considered pure even after Yontif. And Yontif was considered pure, it stays pure. The Chachamim saying, no, you can't complete it. You cannot finish it off considering it pure for chaverim. Even though on Yontif itself was considered pure, once Yontif is over, it's not pure anymore. According to the Chachamim, the permission or the license to consider the Amaratzim not tamei ends by Yontif. After Yontif is over, it's over. But not only is it over, it's over, so to speak, retroactively. That means we know we have to consider that these things touched by the Amaratzim. Mm-hmm. On Yontif, when they touched it, we didn't consider it impure. After Yontif, we consider it impure. That's what the Chachamim say. So what they touched already on Yontif, after Yontif makes it impure. On Yontif, it doesn't affect it. But after Yontif, the fact that it was touched and Yontif is over, and the whole exception to the decree of Amaratzim make things tummy is over, it's over even regarding this dough that they touched on Yontif, that on Yontif was considered pure. That's what the Chachamim say. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, we don't do that. And Rabbi Yehuda says we don't do that for the following reason. The whole issue, or let me read it how they say it here. Rabbi Yehuda argues that the whole point of suspending Amaretz Tumah, why do they suspend it on Yontif? Now, you could say, well, everybody makes themselves pure, clearly. However, he holds it was to ensure the adequate supply of wine and during Yerushalayim for the festival. People, you can't just sit there, people are going to touch things. You can't stop that. If you're going to say the Amaratzim make everything tamei, then there's not going to be anything left for people who want to be careful about Tum and Tara, right? You're not going to be able to do anything. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I'm assuming, plus the fact that, as we said yesterday, everybody is matire themselves over Yontif. Okay, so they're already being more careful than usual, and we need to make sure we have enough supply of dough and wine and things like that for people. So therefore we say the decree doesn't apply over Yontif. Okay, but now you want to say that after Yontif, it'll be impure. So he says, but if leftover wine and dough were considered tamei, merchants would be reluctant to open new wine barrels or to start new batches of dough for the festival, because Chaverim would not buy the tamei leftovers. And this would defeat the whole purpose of having suspended Amaretz Tuma. Meaning, if I'm going to open up a new barrel, right, and then I know I'm not going to be able to finish it over for the rest of Yontif. And then afterwards, you're right, afterwards, the Chaverim, Amaratz may buy it afterwards, but Chaverim will not, because it's considered impure. So I'm not going to start it. And that could cause a shortage at that point of Yontif. So therefore, Yehuda says, therefore the halacha is that even this dough after Yontif will stay tahar. But the Chachamim disagree with that. Okay, next. Mi sha'abar haregel. Once Yontif was over, okay, hayumavirin al taras azara. They used to remove all the vessels from the azara and put them in a mikveh. Meaning, on Yontif, over Yontif, Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkos, Amaratzim were allowed into the azara because they were tar, right? According to Torah law, they're tar, and they're allowed in. They're allowed in because they have to be allowed in, or else not going to do the mitzvah of aliyah l'regel, of going to the base of Mikdash on Yontif. So there they are in the azar, in the courtyard. There are vessels in the courtyard, right? So people touch things, right? If there's people there's a lot of people there, they're going to touch things. Now, on Yontif, we say they're tar. On Yontif, we consider them tar. And therefore, what's touched isn't affected. But Yontif's over now. Okay, everybody's home. Yontif's over. Says the Mishna, they would remove all the vessels and table them, because of the fact that they were touched by they were probably, or a good chance, touched by Amaratzim. Now this is very similar to what we just learned, that even though over Yontif itself they were tahar, these same vessels that were tahar over Yontif, we consider them tamei after Yontif, because Yontif is over. The exception to the rule is that the time for that is over, and therefore we say what they touched is now tamei. We don't find here that Rabbi Yehuda, who argued by the wine and the dough, is arguing over here. Mm-hmm. He doesn't argue over here. The reason he doesn't argue over here is because he doesn't have the reason to argue. By the case of the wine and the oil, by the case of the wine and the dough, he was concerned there'll be a shortage. But here the issue is the vessels of the base Hamikdash. It's not going to make a problem. It's not a problem if after Yontif they have to table them, and therefore everybody agrees that the same vessels that were tar on Yontif are considered impure after Yontif, and they have to be tabled. Now, when did they table them? Right after Yontif was over. So therefore, Ava Haregel b'Yom Shishi. Let's say the Yontif ended on Yom Shishi, on Friday. It ended Thursday night. Right? Thursday night is the day after Yontif, but it's Erev Shabbos. Loi hayom avirin mipnei kved Shabbos. They did not remove the vessels and go through the whole process of making them tar, of the mikveh, because of honor of Shabbos. The Kohanim would, on Fridays, the Kohanim would remain home to ready themselves for Shabbos, leaving them no time to immerse the utensils of the temple. And therefore, they postponed the purification until the day after Shabbos, until Sunday. Okay, and what's the status of those vessels in the meantime? In the meantime, the vessels are tar. When it was a situation of allowing the Kohanim to get ready for Shabbos, they allowed the decree of Yontif that says that it's pure to continue through Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda says, Af lo b'yom hachamishi. Even if Yontif ended on Thursday, meaning on Wednesday night, so the next day was not Erev Shabbos, they also didn't remove all the vessels to purify them. Why? Because the Kohanim are not available. They don't have time. I don't have time. So the explanation is because that the day after Yontif, on the day after a festival, the Kohanim were busy removing from the Mizbeach, from the altar, the large pile of ashes that accumulated there from the many festival offerings. There was a lot of ashes that had to be cleaned down and removed. It was after whole Yontif, after all the karbanos of Yontif, the karbanos that people owe during the year that they bring over Yontif. There was a tremendous amount of ash that was on the altar. And therefore, Yehuda maintains that since this duty was very time-consuming, the sages did not wish to burden the Kohanim on that day with the additional responsibility of purifying the utensils of the Beis Hamikdash. For that reason, the Chachamim never required the Kohanim to purify the utensils on the day following the festival, no matter which day of the week the festival ended. Because think about it, right? There's nothing more special about ending on Wednesday night than ending Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. The point is that after Yontif, they're very busy cleaning off the Mizbeach. So no matter what day it is, in the Mishnah he said, since the first opinion said not on Friday, he said not even Thursday. But it's not about Thursday. It's about any day of the week. Yeah. The bottom line is the day after, since the Kohanim were busy taking care of the ashes, the Chachamim did not obligate them to have to go ahead and purify all the vessels until the day after when they could. Okay. All right. Now, the Chofetz Chaim was talking about how, in a situation where there is no way to give the person the benefit of the doubt about what he did. What he did, everybody knows it's forbidden. He did it many times. This guy definitely has a problem. Nonetheless, we said that you're not allowed to go and publicize it to people because maybe he did tshuva. Going to a Beis Din is not going to help either because the Beis Din really can't do anything. And really what you should be doing in that situation is that you should be going over the person privately and rebuking him privately for what you see he's doing. One should be careful when giving the rebuke to speak in a soft manner so as not to embarrass the person. As is written, you shall surely rebuke your friend, but do not bear a sin because of that. Meaning, don't rebuke someone and then end up getting a sin because you embarrassed him when you did it. Therefore, make sure, even when you're rebuking him, to rebuke him without a way of embarrassing him. And everything we said until now is even if he's just a Beinoni regarding other things. Sometimes, typically he tries not to sin, but it happens. All the more so, we're talking about a person who is a Torah scholar and God-fearing. It just in one thing, unfortunately, is having a problem. Because we're talking about you seeing somebody doing something wrong here. Mm-hmm. But apparently right now, his Yetzer Hara is getting the best of him regarding this specific thing, and he's not doing too well. Everything else we know, he's a Talmid Chacham, he's a God-fearing, he's very meticulous in everything else. This one thing, he's got a problem. It's definitely a great sin to tell others about it, and it's forbidden even to think about it in your own mind. Because we're talking about a person who's a Talmid Chacham, we're talking about a person of very high stature, you have to assume that he did tshuva. And even if his Yetzer Hara got the better of him one time, if we're talking about such a thing, then we're talking about something where it seems here in this part, when he's talking about the Talmid Chacham, he says it's talking about where it says Va'af im Yisrael Chavalav Pam Achas, one time. Okay, what happens if it's many times? I mean, before he spoke, he even mentioned you saw the Beni do it many times, but here he says one time. One time, when you see a Talmid Chacham do something, you have to assume that he did tshuva. If he did it many times, then he's probably no worse than the Beinoni that we're talking about until now. That what you think about him is one thing, but going ahead and telling other people about it, that's a different story. And he quotes the Gemara that says, if you saw a Torah scholar sin by night, don't think about it. Don't consider him wicked in the next day. Such a person you can assume did tshuva. So therefore, again, if the person is a Beinoni, then we say you have to consider the possibility of him doing tshuva, and you can't publicize it, go to anybody about it, but you yourself can go over to him. When we're talking about a Talmid Chacham, the Talmid Chacham is already someone that if he saw, he's a Talmid Chacham, he's a Reish Shemaim, he's God-fearing, but he messed up in something. You have to there again. You can't publicize it, and even in your own mind, you have to assume that he did tshuva. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you very much.
Shua Tov.